I never thought I would see him again. I had trained myself to stop wondering, stopped checking for his name in old group chats, stopped imagining bumping into him at the grocery store or on some rainy Tuesday afternoon. I thought, he's gone. That chapter is over, but life doesn't always respect the stories we tell ourselves. His name was Leo. We met in our early 20s, back when love still felt like a spark that could fix everything. I was 22, fresh out of university, trying to find my place in the world. He was 25, a little older, a little more confident, like he knew exactly who he was. I fell fast, too fast, and I think a part of me never really got up again after him. He wasn't loud with his love. He didn't write poems or make grand gestures. But he'd show up with my favorite chocolate after a bad day. He remembered how I liked my tea. Just a bit of milk, no sugar. He never forgot the tiny things. And that was enough to make me believe he'd always be there. But he wasn't. We broke up after 3 years. No big fight, no betrayal, just a slow drift. He wanted something different, something bigger. He left the country for a job overseas. Said he needed to chase a dream. He asked me to wait, and I didn't say no, but I didn't say yes either. Because how long do you wait for someone who's already walking away? So I moved on. Kind of. I filled the space he left with work, friends, new hobbies, but every now and then I'd hear a song or see someone with his walk or read a sentence that sounded like something he once said, and I'd remember, not painfully, just softly, like pressing a bruise you forgot was there. And then, 2 years later, he came back. No warning, no message, just there. I was at a cafe with my friend Clara, scrolling through the brunch menu, when I heard a voice behind me. A familiar voice. I turned, and there he was. Leo, standing at the counter like the last 2 years had only been a moment. Hair a little longer, eyes a little older, but still him. He hadn't seen me yet. Now I want to pause here for a second and ask you something. Have you ever seen someone again? Someone you thought was gone for good, and your entire body just forgot how to be calm? If you have, just type, "I know the feeling," in the comments. Because in that moment, I swear, my heart remembered before my head did. Clara noticed first. She leaned over and whispered, "Isn't that?" I nodded. I couldn't speak. Leo turned. His eyes swept across the room, and then he saw me. His expression changed, just for a second. That tiny flicker, that tiny smile. I looked down at my hands. Suddenly, they felt like they didn't belong to me. He didn't come over. He ordered his coffee, gave me one last glance, and walked out. No wave, no hello, just gone. Again. And I sat there, feeling like I had just fallen out of a dream I didn't even know I was still in. Clara touched my arm. Do you want to go after him? I shook my head. But my heart said yes. Because here's the truth. I thought I was okay. I thought I had moved on. But seeing him again, just for those few seconds, it was enough to reopen every door I'd spent years learning how to close. After that day at the cafe, I told myself it was nothing. A coincidence, a blip, just one of life's strange little loops. But something inside me had shifted. I started walking with my head a little higher, as if expecting to see him on every corner. Started checking the cafe window when I passed it, just in case, and I hated that part of me. Because I had promised myself I wouldn't hope again. But sometimes, hope sneaks in where pride used to live. It took 2 weeks, 2 whole weeks before I saw him again. This time, it wasn't random. It was a party. Clara invited me. Small rooftop. Gathering, nothing fancy. I almost didn't go, but something in me whispered, "What if?" So I said yes. It was a soft summer evening. The sky was bruised pink, music low, glasses clinking, laughter rising and falling. And then I saw him. Leo. He was standing near the edge of the rooftop talking to someone I didn't know. He was smiling. Not wide, just that half smile I used to see when he was nervous or pretending not to be shy. He hadn't seen me yet. My chest tightened. I turned to Clara. "You didn't tell me he'd be here." She blinked. I didn't know he was back in the city until that cafe. I swear I didn't invite him. And I believed her. That didn't make it easier. He looked different in the fading light. Older, sharper, but still him. He turned, and this time he saw me. Our eyes met. No one else noticed the moment, but we did. He made his way over, slowly, like he wasn't sure if I'd welcome him or run. I stood still, and then he said it. "Hi, Liv." My name in his voice. After 2 years, it felt like something sacred had returned to me. "Hi," I said. It was all I could manage. He glanced around. "I didn't think I'd see you again." I almost laughed. "Same." And then silence. The kind that's heavy, not awkward. He shoved his hands into his pockets. "I heard you're working at the publishing house now." "Yeah." I nodded. "You still writing?" "A little," he said. "Not as much as I should be." Then another pause. God, we were strangers. And not, all at once. He looked me in the eyes and asked softly, "How have you been?" I wanted to say, "Do you mean since you left? Or since you came back without saying a word?" But I didn't. Instead, I said, "I've been okay." "You?" He shrugged. "I'm still figuring things out." A familiar answer. He'd said the same thing when he left. And that's when it hit me. Maybe he hadn't changed at all. Now, if you're still listening, can I ask you something? Have you ever stood in front of someone who once broke your heart and realized you weren't sure if you were still angry or just tired? If you felt that, drop a comment below. Just say, "It was never simple." Because that's the truth about love that leaves and then walks back in. It's never simple. We talked for a little longer. Small things, nothing real, nothing dangerous. And then, before I could think too much, he said it. "There's someone I want you to meet." My stomach dropped. I didn't move. He smiled, a little too carefully, and turned. And that's when I saw her. A woman. Beautiful. Confident and pregnant. About 6 months, maybe 7. She walked over and took his arm. He looked at her, then back at me. "This is Aaron," he said. My fiancé. Fiancé, that word. It rang in my ears like someone dropped a bell down a well. I smiled, because what else could I do? I held out my hand. "Nice to meet you." She shook it. "You too. Leo's told me a lot about you." I bet he has. I don't remember much after that. Just that the sky had turned dark, and the air didn't feel like summer anymore. That night, I sat alone on my couch, shoes still on, hair still up, phone silent, and I cried. Not because he came back, but because he came back, and it wasn't for me. I didn't sleep that night. I tried. I really did. I turned off the lights, pulled the blanket up to my chin, closed my eyes, but my mind kept playing one scene over and over. This is Aaron, my fiancé. It wasn't the words that broke me. It was how softly he said them, like he knew I needed it to be gentle, like he remembered how to protect me, even while tearing my chest open again. And that hurt more than if he'd said nothing at all. The next morning, I woke up in the same position I'd fallen asleep in. Shoes still on, makeup smudged, eyes swollen. I sat in the silence of my apartment and stared at the cup of tea I didn't remember making. It had gone cold, like me. I didn't tell Clara right away. She texted, "You okay?" I typed, "Yeah, just tired," and deleted it, then typed again. He introduced me to his fiancée. She replied in seconds. "What? Are you okay?" I didn't answer. Because how do you explain that kind of ache? It's not sharp. It doesn't scream. It just lingers. Like smoke in your clothes. Like music you can't stop humming even after the song ends. I saw him again 2 weeks later. I wasn't planning to. I was walking home from the store, keys between my fingers, bag over my shoulder, and there he was, sitting on the low stone wall outside the park, like some memory made real. He stood when he saw me. "Hey," he said. I stopped. "Hi." We stared at each other. He gestured to the wall. "Can we talk?" I should have said no, but my heart still hadn't learned how to forget the sound of his voice, so I nodded. We sat, side by side, not touching, and he said, "I didn't mean for you to find out that way." I laughed, not because it was funny, but because it was too late for careful words. You mean at a rooftop party surrounded by mutual friends with a 6 months pregnant fiancé? Yeah, not ideal. He winced. I wanted to call you, he said, before I came back. But you didn't. No. Why? He looked at the ground. Because I didn't know how, and because I knew I'd see you eventually. And I didn't want to lie to you. I turned to him. Leo, not telling me was lying. He nodded. I'm sorry. I shook my head. Don't apologize. It won't fix it. We sat in silence again. The air between us heavy with all the things we didn't say. So I said one of them. Did you ever think about me after you left? He looked up slowly. Every day. Now I want to pause here, just for a second, because I need to ask you something. Have you ever heard someone say the exact words you were once dying to hear? But when they finally say them, it's too late. If you've ever felt that, leave a comment. Just say, I wanted it sooner. Because sometimes the worst kind of heartbreak is the kind that arrives after you've already survived it. I looked at him, and I believed him. He did think about me. He did wonder. He probably even missed me. But he moved on, built something new, started a life without me. And I said, so why now? Why sit here with me? Why ask to talk? He hesitated, then said softly, because you were the person who knew me best, and I don't think I ever got to say goodbye properly. I stared ahead. No, I said. You didn't. And I think we both knew this wasn't just a goodbye. It was the goodbye. He stood first. I hope you find someone who sees you the way I should have. I didn't look at him, because if I did, I wouldn't let him walk away again, and I needed him too. So I just said, take care, Leo. And he left. No hug, no kiss, no tears. Just the sound of his footsteps fading down the path. Healing doesn't happen the way people describe it. It's not a straight line. It doesn't feel like freedom. Not at first. Sometimes it just feels like waking up and not crying right away. Or walking past a place that once meant everything, and realizing it no longer takes your breath away. After Leo walked away for the last time, I expected to fall apart again. But I didn't. Not like before. This time the sadness didn't come crashing down. It came in slow waves, and between them, there was space. Space to breathe, to think, to remember without breaking. I started journaling. Not about him, not at first, just about the little things. A sunny walk, a song I liked, a cup of coffee I made just right. And then slowly, he showed up on the page, not as a wound, but as a memory. And that's when I knew. I was healing. I want to be honest with you for a moment. Because if you've ever had your heart broken, not just cracked, but shattered so quietly the world didn't notice, you know what I mean when I say this. Some days healing feels like guilt, like betrayal, Because when the pain starts to fade, you wonder, am I forgetting them? Wasn't this supposed to matter forever? If you've ever been there, write, "I'm learning to let go" in the comments. You're not alone. Clara and I had brunch one morning. She poured me a mimosa and raised her eyebrow. "So, how are you really doing?" I smiled, and for once, I didn't have to fake it. "I think I'm okay," I said. She nodded. "Good, because you deserve to be." It's strange, isn't it? How we survive things we thought would end us. There was a time when the idea of seeing Leo again felt like a fantasy. Then it became reality. Then it became pain. And now, it's just a thing that happened. Not a regret, not a fairy tale, just part of my story. One day I passed by the cafe, again, the one where I saw him for the first time after 2 years. I stood outside for a moment, then I went in, ordered tea, sat by the window, and this time, I didn't look for him. I didn't expect him to walk in. I just sipped my tea, wrote in my notebook, and let the afternoon pass through me without asking for anything back. There's a peace that comes when you realize the love you gave wasn't wasted, even if it didn't last, even if they didn't stay, even if they came back for someone else. I want to say something to you, if you're still listening, if you're in that space, the quiet after heartbreak, where nothing makes sense and everything feels too loud. Please know this. It won't always feel like this. You'll smile again, not out of habit, but because something genuinely moved you, you'll sleep again. Not from exhaustion, but from peace. You'll walk past places, pictures, even people, and your chest won't ache the way it used to. You won't forget them, but you'll remember you too. That's what healing really is. Not forgetting what happened, but remembering who you were before they left. One night I wrote Leo a letter. I didn't send it. I never will. But I wrote it. Just for me. Here's how it ended. You mattered, but I matter too. You didn't choose me. And that hurt. But I'm still here. Still standing. And I'm no longer waiting for the door to open, because I finally learned how to walk away from it myself. It wasn't a dramatic moment. No fireworks, no butterflies, just a simple Thursday. Rain tapping the windows, a quiet bookstore tucked between 2 cafes, and a man asking if the seat beside me was taken. His name was James. And no, this isn't the part where I tell you he fixed everything. Because he didn't. I wasn't broken, just quieter than I used to be. A little softer around the edges. A little more careful with my hope. But he sat down. We started talking. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel the need to shrink myself. He didn't remind me of Leo. Not at all. Leo had been fire, quick, consuming, impossible to ignore. James was earth, steady, patient, the kind of presence you don't notice at first. But once you do, you wonder how you ever lived without it. We talked about books, about movies we never finished, about how we both liked the quiet more than we admitted to most people. It was easy. Not the kind of easy that feels boring, the kind that feels like breathing after you didn't know you'd been holding your breath. We met again the next week, and again the week after. No pressure, no big promises, just two people showing up for each other. And this time, I wasn't carrying a shadow with me. Leo was still a part of my story, but he wasn't the main character anymore. One night, James asked me gently, "Did someone hurt you?" I looked at him, and instead of flinching, I nodded. Yes, but I let them, because I didn't know how to love myself yet. He didn't ask for details. He just reached for my hand and said, "You do now." And I smiled, because he was right. Now, if you've stayed with me this far, if you listened to this story from the moment I said, "I never thought I'd see him again," thank you. You've heard my heart. You've sat with me in the hard moments. You've witnessed what I couldn't even say out loud until now. So let me ask you one last time. Have you ever looked back on a love that almost broke you and felt thankful it didn't last? If you have, tell me in the comments. It made me stronger, because sometimes the ones who don't stay, they don't ruin you. They reveal you. James didn't walk into my life like a storm. He walked in like a Sunday morning. And for someone who had learned to brace for thunder, that kind of love was revolutionary. We're still writing our story. One quiet chapter at a time. It's not perfect. No love is, but it's kind. It's steady. And most importantly, it feels like home. Leo came back, but not for me, and that used to hurt. Now, I'm grateful. Because if he hadn't left, if I hadn't learned to stand in that empty space he left behind, I might never have found the kind of love that doesn't ask me to wait, only to stay. If this story touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps this reach someone else who needs to hear it. And if you've ever loved, lost, or healed, share your story in the comments. I'll be reading them. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more true-to-the-heart stories like this. Quiet, emotional, and just a little bit messy, like life. Thank you for staying till the end. Until next time, take care of your heart, and remember, you're not alone.